Hey, hey. Top of the day, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday, beautiful people. Tony Shalom. All right, y'all. It is Tuesday, August the 17th, 2021, day 235 a year 30 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, another 3-year consecutive day count, day 904. Today, y'all, we're reading Ezekiel 32, 33, and 34. Then we're going to pick up where we left off at on Sunday in Fossilized Customs on page 327. Y'all, I think I know what we're going to read next, but it's going to be real short, probably like a couple days, so I have to pick a second one. I mentioned it, the origins of the New Testament. We're going to read that little thin book, that little pamphlet. And I think I shared with y'all the PDF, because you can get the PDF version of it online for free, and you can also order it for Amazon for a few bucks too. So we're going to read that. It's really, really short, but it'll take us a couple days because we're going to split it up. But I'll share that link again. Actually, if you go to my playlist, you can find it there. If you click on the playlist that says Origins of the New Testament, I got like that purple Chiquita banana head wrap on. That video right there where it's sitting real high in purple, it's in that right there. If you click on that video, go down into the description box. It's in there, and I think I also pinned it to the top of the comment section as well. So that way, if you don't have it, if you want to get it, you can go ahead and get it. So that's going to be quite interesting while we read through that, right? Because if you didn't know, you're going to soon find out who actually penned the New Testament, right? And a lot of everybody here might already know already, because just because we've talked about it quite a bit. But all y'all here, y'all probably know who it is or who did it. It was a compilation of different people, and it wasn't the people whom the books in the New Testament is named after, right? And neither was it Paul, right? Let me just say, let's put that out there. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the Shema, which is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting at verse 3. Check my volumes real quick. All right. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah, the mighty one of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one, and you shall love Yahuwah, your mighty one, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead right on over here to Ezekiel chapter 32. A warning for Pharaoh. On March 3rd, during the 12th year of King Jehoiachin's captivity, this message came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, mourn for Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and give him this message. You think of yourself as strong as a lion among nations, but you are really just a sea monster. heaving around in your own rivers, stirring up mud with your feet. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says: I will send many people to catch you in my net and haul you out of the water. I will leave you stranded on the land to die. All the birds of the heavens will land on you, and the wild animals of the whole earth will gorge themselves on you. I will scatter your flesh on the hills and fill the valleys with your bones. I will drench the earth with your gushing blood all the way to the mountains, filling the ravines to the brim. When I blot you out, I will veil the heavens and darken the skies. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light to you. I will darken the bright stars overhead and cover your land in darkness. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. I will disturb many hearts when I bring news of your downfall to distant nations you have never seen. Yes, I shall shock many lands, and their kings will be terrified at your fate. They will shudder in fear for their lives as I brandish my sword before them on the day of your fall. For this is what Yahuwah says: the sword of the king of Babylon will come against you. I will destroy your hordes with the mighty swords of mighty warriors, the terror of the nations. They will shatter the pride of Egypt, and all its hordes will be destroyed. I will destroy all your flocks and herds that graze beside the streams. Never again will people or animals muddy those waters with their feet. Then I will let the waters of Egypt become calm again, and they will flow as smoothly as olive oil, says Yahuwah. And when I destroy Egypt, I will strip you of everything you own and strike down all your people. Then you will know that I am Yahuwah. Yes, this is a funeral song they will sing for Egypt. Let all the nations mourn. Let them mourn for Egypt and its hordes. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Egypt falls into the pit. On March 17th, during the 12th year, another message came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, weep for the hordes of Egypt and for the other mighty nations, for I will send them down to the world below in company with those who descend to the pit. Say to them, O Egypt, are you lovelier than the other nations? No. So go down to the pit and lie there among the outcasts. The Egyptians will fall with many who have died by the sword, for the sword is drawn against them. Egypt and its hordes will be dragged away in their judgment. Down in the grave, mighty leaders will mockingly welcome Egypt as its allies, saying, they have come down. They lie among the outcasts, hordes slaughtered by the sword. Assyria lies there surrounded by the graves of its army, those who were slaughtered by the sword. Their graves are in the depths of the pit, and they are surrounded by their allies. They struck terror in the hearts of people everywhere, but now they have been slaughtered by the sword. Elam lies there surrounded by the grave of all its hordes, those who were slaughtered by the sword. They struck terror in the hearts of people everywhere, but now they have descended as outcasts to the world below. They lie in the pit and share the same of those who have gone before them. They have a resting place among the slaughtered, surrounded by the graves of all their hordes. Yes, they terrorize the nations while they live, but now they lie in shame with others in the pit, all of them outcasts, slaughtered by the sword. Meshach and Tubal are there, surrounded by the graves of all their hordes. They once struck terror in the hearts of people everywhere, but now they are outcasts, all slaughtered by the sword. They are not buried in honor like their fallen heroes who went down to the grave with their weapons, their shields covering their bodies, and their swords beneath their heads. Their guilt rests upon them because they brought terror to everyone while they were still alive. You too, Egypt, will lie crushed and broken among the outcasts, all the slaughtered by the sword. Edom is there with its kings and princes, mighty as they were. They also lie among those slaughtered by the sword, with the outcasts who have gone down to the pit. All the princes of the north and the Sidonians are there with the others who have died. Once a terror, they have been put to shame. They lie there as outcasts with others who were slaughtered by the sword. They share the same of all who descend to the pit. When Pharaoh and his entire army arrive, he will take comfort that he is not alone in having his hordes killed, says Yahuwah. Although I have caused his terror to fall upon the living, Pharaoh and his hordes will lie there among the outcasts who were slaughtered by the sword. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Egypt thought they were getting out of it, huh? They not. Uncle Nathaniel, peaceful greetings. Auntie, shalom, shalom. Okay, Ezekiel chapter 33. Ezekiel as Israel's watchman. Once again, a message came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, give your people this message. When I bring an army against a country, the people of that land choose one of their own to be a watchman. When the watchman sees the enemy coming, he sounds the alarm to warn the people. Then, if those who hear the alarm refuse to take action, it is their own fault if they die. They heard the alarm but ignored it, so the responsibility is theirs. If they had listened to the warning, they could have saved their lives. But if the watchman sees the enemy coming and doesn't sound the alarm to warn the people, he is responsible for their captivity. They will die in their sins, but I will hold the watchman responsible for their deaths. Now, son of man, I am making you a watchman for the people of Israel. Therefore, listen to what I say and warn them for me. If I announce that some wicked people are sure to die, and you fail to tell them to change their ways, then they will die in their sins, and I will hold you responsible for their deaths. But if you warn them to repent and they don't repent, they will die in their sins, but you will have saved yourself. The watchman's message. Son of man, give the people of Israel this message. You are saying, our sins are heavy upon us. We are wasting away. How can we survive? As surely as I live, says Yahuwah, I take no pleasure in the death of wicked people. I only want them to turn from their wicked ways so that they can live. Turn from your wickedness, O people of Israel. Why should you die? Son of man, give your people this message. The righteous behavior of righteous people will not save them if they turn to sin, nor will the wicked behavior of the wicked people destroy them if they repent and turn from their sins. When I tell righteous people that they will live, but then they sin, expecting their past righteousness to save them, then none of their righteous acts will be remembered. I will destroy them for their sins. And suppose I tell some wicked people that they will surely die, but then they turn from their sins and do what is just and right. For instance, they might give back a debt of security, return what they have stolen, and obey my life-giving laws, no longer doing what is evil. If they do this, then they will surely live and not die. None of their past sins will be brought up again, for they have done what is just and right, and they will surely live. Your people are saying, Yahuwah isn't doing what's right, but it is they who are not doing what is right. For again, I say, when righteous people turn away from their righteous behavior and turn to evil, they will die. But if wicked people turn from their wickedness and do what is just and right, they will live. O people of Israel, you are saying, Yahuwah isn't doing what's right, but I judge each of you according to your deeds. And we know that that is still the same, right? Explanation for Jerusalem's fall. On January the 8th, during the 12th year of our captivity, a survivor from Jerusalem came to me and said, the city has fallen. The previous evening, Yahuwah had taken hold of me and given me back my voice, so I was able to speak when this man arrived the next morning. Then this message came to me from Yahuwah. Son of man, the scattered remnants of Israel living among the ruined cities keep saying, Abraham was only one man, yet he gained possession of the entire land. We are many. Surely the land has been given to us as a possession. So tell these people, this is what Yahuwah says. You eat meat with blood in it. You worship idols, and you murder the innocent. Do you really think the land should be yours? Murderers, idolaters, adulterers, should the land belong to you? Say to them, this is what Yahuwah says. As surely as I live, those living in ruins will die by the sword, and I will send wild animals to eat those living in the open fields. Those hiding in the forts and caves will die of disease. I will completely destroy the land and demolish her pride. Her arrogant power will come to an end. The mountains of Israel will be so desolate that no one will even travel through them. When I have completely destroyed the land because of their detestable sins, they will know that I am Yahuwah. Son of man, your people talk about you in their houses and whisper about you at the doors. They say to each other, "Come on, let's go hear the prophet tell us what Yahuwah is saying." So my people come pretending to be sincere and sit before you. They listen to your words, but they have no intention of doing what you say. Their mouths are full of lustful words, and their hearts seek only after money. You are very entertaining to them, like someone who sings love songs with a beautiful voice or plays fine music on an instrument. They hear what you say, but they don't act on it. But when all these terrible things happen to them, as they certainly will, then they will know that a prophet has been among them. Last chapter for today, Ezekiel chapter 34, the shepherds of Israel. Then this message came to me from Yahuwah: Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds, the leaders of Israel. Give them this message from Yahuwah: What sorrow awaits you, sheep, who feed yourselves instead of your flocks. Shouldn't shepherds feed their sheep? You drink the milk, wear the wool, and butcher the best animals, but you let your flocks starve. You have not taken care of the weak. You have not tended to the sick or bound up the injured. You have not gone looking for those who have wandered away and are lost. Instead, you have ruled them with harshness and cruelty. So my sheep have been scattered without a shepherd, and they are easy prey for any wild animal. They have wandered through all the mountains and all the hills across the face of the earth, yet no one has gone to search for them. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of Yahuwah. As surely as I live, says Yahuwah, you abandoned my flock and left them to be attacked by every wild animal. And though you were my shepherds, you didn't search for my sheep when they were lost. You took care of yourselves and left the sheep to starve. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of Yahuwah. This is what the sovereign Lord says: I now consider these shepherds my enemies, and I will hold them responsible for what has happened to my flock. I will take away their right to feed the flock, and I will stop them from feeding themselves. I will rescue my flock from their mouths. The sheep will no longer be their prey. The Good Shepherd. For this is what Yahuwah says: I myself will search and find my sheep. I will be like a shepherd looking for his scattered flock. I will find my sheep and rescue them from all the places where they have been scattered on that dark and cloudy day. I will bring them back home to their own land of Israel from among the peoples and nations. I will feed them on the mountains of Israel, by the rivers, and in all the places where people live. Yes, I will give them good pasture land on the high hills of Israel. There they will lie down in pleasant places and feed in lush pastures of the hills. I myself will tend to my sheep and give them a place to lie down in peace, says Yahuwah. I will search for my lost ones who strayed away, and I will bring them safely home again. I will bandage the injured and strengthen the weak. I will destroy those who are fat and powerful. I will feed them, yes, feed them justice. As for you, my flock, this is what the sovereign Lord says to his people: I will judge between one animal of the flock and another, separating the sheep from the goats. Isn't it enough for you to keep the best of the pastures for yourselves? Must you also trample down the rest? Isn't it enough for you to drink clear water for yourselves? Must you also muddy the rest with your feet? Why must my flock eat what you have trampled down and drink water you have filed? Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says: I will surely judge between the fat sheep and the scrawny sheep. For you fat sheep pushed and butted and crowded my sick and hungry flock until you scattered them to distant lands. So I will rescue my flock, and they will no longer be abused. I will judge between one animal of the flock and another. I will set over them one shepherd, my servant David. He will feed them and be a shepherd to them. And I, Yahuwah, will be their God, and my servant David will be a prince among my people. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Yahuwah's covenant of peace. I will make a covenant of peace with my people and drive away the dangerous animals from the land. Then they will be able to camp safely in the wildest places and sleep in the woods without fear. I will bless my people and their homes around my holy hill, and in the proper season I will send the showers they need. There will be showers of blessing. The orchards and the fields of my people will yield bumper crops, and everyone will live in safety. When I have broken their chains of slavery and rescued them from those who enslaved them, then they will know that I am Yahuwah. They will no longer be prey for other nations, and wild animals will no longer devour them. They will live in safety, and no one will frighten them. And I will make their land famous for its crops, so my people will never again suffer from famines or the insults of foreign nations. In this way, they will know that I, Yahuwah, am their God and am with them. And they will know that they, the people of Israel, are my people, says Yahuwah. You are my flock, the sheep of my pasture. You are my people, and I am your God, the sovereign Lord. I have spoke. Hold on. I am the sovereign Lord. Hold on. I still read it wrong. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Okay, y'all. Lavan Shalom. All right, y'all. So that was Ezekiel chapter 32, 33, and 34. All right, y'all. So let's go on over here to Fossilized Customs. If you missed it earlier, I said the next book we're going to read, although it is really short, it will be through it in a couple days, probably about a week. But I'm going to have another one right after it. We're going to read the origins of the New Testament, right? Okay. Oh, hold on. Page 328. All right, y'all. Page 328. Toxic Torah. Supersessionism, also known as replacement theology. Covenant and people replaced by Alexandrian cults. The word toxic means poisonous or venomous. Every day we're surrounded by people who have embraced toxic teachings. Torah is a Hebrew word meaning teaching. It is identical in meaning to the Latin word doctrine. The question is, which Torah is toxic? It may be Yahuwah's Torah or men's Torah. We should carefully test if a Torah instruction is of men before we take it into our mind or our heart or our inner lamp. If it is, we should reject it. The Nazarene rejected the teaching authority of Rome, and that is why they were hunted as heretics and had to hide in the hills and valleys, the wall de sands or valley dwellers. Commonly, the word Torah is translated into the English word law. We live in a highly deceptive world under the influence of an enemy called the dragon or the serpent. Those who appear pious are guiding the masses away from the obedience of the Torah of Yahuwah. Some have been heard saying the Torah of Yahuwah is toxic faith. Taking the perspective of the dragon, the Torah of Yahuwah would be toxic faith. What teaching authority has captured you? Supersessionism. This is the concept that Christians in the renewed covenant era have replaced Israel as Yahuwah's people. They usurp the promises but leave behind the moral obligations. Some call it replacement theology. It is a kind of identity movement. Its ideas originated in the incubator of Christianity at Alexandria, Egypt. The church fathers at this didascalia or catechetical school at Alexandria taught that all the promises made to Israel were now inherited by the Christian church. And we know that is not the truth, right? Y'all know that. The covenants with Abraham, Moses, and David are considered annulled according to the church doctrine, right? This is what he's saying. The church was and is the centralized hierarchy holding all authority over doctrine. It is the controller that will be taken out of the way at the coming of Yahuwah. It is an authoritarian government. It is an authoritarian military organism posing as a religious institution, controlling what is taught and who is ordained by it to teach. It wields such great power because it is the first estate, or the clergy, to which the two other estates must submit. The other two, excuse me, excuse me, I'm getting my sip of water. Hold on. What's cracking? And peace, shalom, mom, shalom, shalom. Okay. The two other estates in the old world order are the nobility and laity. The prophet Jeremiah is quoted at Hebrews chapter 8 and 10, giving us insight into what is meant concerning the covenant. It is the same covenant renewed in men's hearts rather than written in stone as the former was. Before proceeding with this study, please read the entire chapter of Jeremiah 31. You will immediately recognize how far adrift the church fathers were in their identity of Israel and Yahuwah's promises. Okay, so right here I read ahead a little bit. It's so much leaven mixed in these next pages where it's talking about a schoolmaster. So sum it up. I'll just sum it up correctly for you. You can go and read it. You'll see what I'm talking about. But just like we have parents until we're of age, that's where the Torah comes in, right? It's our schoolmaster, and it teaches us. And as we become mature and we're grown up, we have solid principles that have been ingrained into all of our fibers that we should, even if we're not like constantly under the teaching or tutelage of teachers teaching us Torah or whatever, that we can walk by ourselves. As we're mature enough, we head out by ourselves without leaving the teachings behind or the principles. We just operate on them, right? Because now we're old enough, we're responsible now, and we don't always need somebody over us, right? Our parents don't need to hold our hands because we've learned, we've grown, we can handle this, we got this, right? All right. Yahuwah's Torah is not toxic. A few years ago, as I was driving home from work, listening to my truck radio, a Christian preacher was teaching against the works of the law. He said the Torah is toxic and must be kept from a Christian's walk. His words knocked the breath out of me. Teachers ensnared in the Alexandrian cult understand works of the law to refer to obeying the commandments, which they call legalism. The works of the law spoken of in Scripture at Romans chapter 3, verses 28, and Galatians chapter 2, verse 16, pertain to the... see, here you go. I missed this part. It says, pertain to the atonement provided by the offering of animal blood for sin, a shadow or pattern that pointed to the ultimate offering, the precious blood of Yahusha. See, this is not right? Yahuwah said, Yahuwah constantly said that the blood defiles. That's why we're to stay away from it, right? So here we go. He got some more little leaven mixed up in here. He hasn't figured out, because the animal sacrifices set you up for the big human sacrifice, and we all know that it's all a no-no, right? So let's mark this out. Let's fix it as we go. I thought I went through everything. Okay. Yahuwah's Torah is not toxic. Read Psalm chapter 1, verses 1 through 6. Contented is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of the scoffers, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah, and he meditates in his Torah day and night. And if you have the book, it says, and he meditates in his Torah, Yom and Layla. Yom is the Hebrew word for day, and Layla is the term for night, just in case you're like, wait, that's not what it said. It's day and night, right? For he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water, that yields its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers. The wrong are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind blows away. Therefore the wrong shall not rise in judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For Yahuwah knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked ones will perish. See also Psalm 119. Which of Yahuwah's commandments is the most toxic? The teachings of men are highly toxic, since they reject the very thing that produces loving kindness and right behavior. The Torah is perfect. Psalm 119, 7 through 10. The Torah of Yahuwah is perfect, bringing back the being. The witness of Yahuwah is trustworthy, making the wise simple. The orders of Yahuwah are straight, rejoicing the heart. The command of Yahuwah is clear, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahuwah is clean, standing forever. The right rulings of Yahuwah are true. They are righteous altogether, more desirable than gold, than much fine gold, and sweeter than honey and the honeycomb. Supersessionists teach obligatory tithing and weekly services. They've usurped the role of the priesthood set up under the former pattern of the schoolmaster and recite texts out of context to make it appear that they have authority to alter the entire pattern of behavior. They claim their authority to alter things is evidenced by the fact they eliminated the command to rest on the seventh day. They usurped the tithe and quoted Galatians 6 and 6, and let him who is instructed in the word share in all that is good with him who is instructing. This would be great if they were teaching obedience to Yahuwah's Torah or Yahuwah's word and held to his beliefs. They are lawless, rejecting the instructions for the living from Yahuwah. They arbor legalism or obedience to Yahuwah's Torah. They are masters at twisting and therefore are blind guides. Their Torah is not to be questioned, yet they claim Yahuwah's Torah is too hard and no one is able to keep his Torah. Yahuwah said it is not too difficult, right? And that's found in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 11. For this command which I am commanding you today, it is not too hard for you, nor is it far off. And a lot of times, it depends. You still got some people that you can hardly see. You not see it nothing but. Okay, that's better. Whew. Sarah Shalom. Real Shalom to Tina. Good morning, sis. Look, so you hear it a lot of times. Even some people who are coming out of the church and they're waking up slowly, you can still see and hear remnants of the church all up and through them, right? Because some of them will still say, look, Jesus paid it all. All that's legalism. Nobody could keep to it. And I'm just like, what part exactly could you not keep? And that's that. Ever since I started looking at that, I'm like, Yahuwah is absolutely right. There is not anything that we cannot keep wherever we live on the earth. The only thing that they will ever bring up is two things that they're going to bring up, which has been leaven, right? And then once you find it, you will see that the leaven that has been added starts in the old, it builds up, and it connects you to the leaven in the new, because those are the only two things that they could ever say that we can't keep. They don't talk about none of the other stuff, like thou shalt not commit adultery, idolatry, thou shalt not worship other gods, all these other things, right? There's none of these things that cannot be done, whether you're in the land or out of the land. The only things that they're gonna bring are, oh, that's too hard because We don't even have a temple anymore to worship in, and animal sacrifices. Oh, but now the animal sacrifice has been done away with. We got the once and for all blood human sacrifice, which is also abominable, which Yahuwah said constantly, right? Those are the only two things that they're ever going to give you. Those are the only two things that they can ever give you. And those that constantly give you those things, you can clearly tell that they're still indoctrinated. They may be woke in some areas. They may be speaking a lot of truth, right? Leading our people out of darkness into light. But that particular thing right there, they still need to deal with. They cling tight to their human blood sacrifice. It don't matter if they pronounce his name in English or they change it to Hebrew when they cross over. You're still doing the same stuff, right? And people want to argue down and write you off as a heretic. But then it's like, well, just go back and look what Yahuwah says. Okay, he constantly tell you that the blood defiles. And right, he said he don't require any of that stuff. He said the animal sacrifices, people wanted to do that. Those were their things. They constantly pushed that. They wanted to do that, right? And we know we got the lion pens of the writing scribes that also added stuff in here and made it look like it was Yahuwah. But if you spend enough time in his presence, you'll begin to notice the tone that the scripture carries. And when something is said, and even when Yahuwah's name is put on it, you can tell that it's not his tone, and that is not how he speaks, and that is not how he operates. And that's what really began to grab my attention, which made me start going to look into other. I was like, wait a minute, that don't even sound like you. I know they say that you said that, but first of all, from what I understand now, I understand your character. You told us don't touch the blood, right? Don't touch it. If our husbands can't even touch us, and our blood would be considered more clean than animal blood, right? But if a man is defiled, if he has intercourse with his wife while she's on her cycle, how is it that your priesthood can be splattered with animal's blood? And then these regents don't even go wash it off. They just walk around. They spend all this time going and get clean, fine linen, and white. Now you slaughtering animals, putting and sprinkling animal blood on them to atone for the sins of wicked people whom you said that they would die for their own sins, right? If a righteous turns to wicked behavior and they stay there, they're going to die for their sins, and none of their righteous acts will be remembered. But if those who are wicked turn and begin to do what's right, then all of their previous sins will be forgotten because they decide to stop their foolishness and do what's right. None of their previous sins will be remembered, but they will live because of the righteousness that they're currently walking in now. At what point in time did he say you need blood for any of that? He just said, stop your foolishness and do what's right, right? That's always been required. That's all that's ever only been required. People adding in extra steps. Oh, you need blood. Why? Don't get me started today. Why? There's so many reasons why. They're prostituting you. They're trying to take all your money. They're telling you need people to lead you into righteousness. You need this. You got to do this prayer and do it in this name. You need to take this in your heart. And the only thing Yahuwah said that we ever need to take inside of us is his instructions and meditate on them, right? Because that will help us and we will make our way prosperous before us, right? I'm just saying. It is not too hard. Not nary one of Yahuwah's commands is hard to keep. Not none of them. Even here in 2021. 2021, today, as we speak. Not now one of them. And he said, you know what? You know what the new covenant gonna be? The same stuff. The same stuff that I gave to your ancestors that are dead and gone and been in the grave for millennia. Y'all getting them same ones. But here's the only difference. I ain't gonna give it to you on 2 tablets. I'm gonna make sure that it's deep within your shanana. Deep down, I'm gonna scribe it on your heart, right? Then you're going to obey them, and you're going to love them, and you're going to love me, and you're going to be my people, and I'm going to be your God, right? Ain't nothing hard about that. They arbor legalism or obedience to Yahuwah's Torah. They are masters at twisting, and therefore they are blind guides. Their Torah is not to be questioned, yet they claim Yahuwah's Torah is too hard and no one is able to keep his Torah. Yahuwah said it is not too difficult. For this command which I am commanding you today, it is not too hard for you, nor is it far off. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 11. In the context of Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 11, we find the curses for disobedience to his Torah. We would not remain in the land, but be driven into the nations until we perish. Yahuwah has never taught anyone to do anything that is toxic or poisonous. Yahuwah's Torah is behavioral training in how to love. Babel is the woman we're called out from, and she is religion. Her traditions have molded the minds of nations for thousands of years. Tradition is the gravity that imprisons hearts, keeping them from receiving Yahuwah's word and his name. His name and his word are above all. Psalm 138, verse 2. The dragons, beast, and false prophet attack the name and the word with extreme prejudice. Yahuwah searches for those with whom he can have companionship. His spirit is repelled by religion, which blinds us with men's traditions. Every week, millions listen to teachings that inoculate them against returning to the everlasting covenant of kindness. They are taught the commandments have been done away, and a new covenant of only believe has replaced the covenant of kindness. People are programmed to believe Yahuwah's Torah is impossible for anyone to keep. And we know, I just spent a few minutes talking about this, right? It is not. Yahuwah say it is not. And neither is it far off up into heaven somewhere, nor is it deep in the sea where we need somebody to go get it, pull it up, and bring it to us. He said, no, it's right here with you. Right here. In your face. With you today. You can do it today. The dragon continually fights against the truth. Some have said the covenant is toxic poison to the minds of children. To escape the lawlessness, we have to decide whom we will serve, Yahuwah or men's teachings. See Romans 6:16. The whole Western world is under the influence of the culture that hatched at Alexandria. The church fathers and headmasters allegorized scripture and slowly forged a powerful hierarchy over all the illiterate masses. Rome promotes the idea the church has been superseded or replaced the people of Israel, claiming that they have been rejected by Kyrios, or the Lord. Rome invented sacraments by which they pretend to dispense the favor of Yahuwah. Crystograms, theonyms representing a name, encrypted the name of Yahuwah in crystograms, IC-XC, HIS, and IESU, letters which eventually evolved into Jesus. For 1200 years, the Latin Vulgate used the theonym IESV for the name of Yahusha. The V is the Latin letter U. All right, so it's going into another section now. Don't get blindsided by polygamy. Here's the picture, right? It's a picture of a man and two women on the side of him, right? Some say polygyny. I say polygamy. All right. Yahusha didn't say they are no longer three, but one flesh. Matthew 19. He said they are no longer two, but one flesh. Be mindful of the warning at 2 Timothy chapter 4 and the false teachers that will be heaped up to teach what itching ears desire to hear. Proclaim the word, be urgent in season and out of season. Reprove, confute, or prove them wrong. Warn, appeal with all patience and teaching. For there shall come a time when they shall not bear sound teaching, but according to their own desires, they shall heap up for themselves teachers, tickling the ear, and they shall indeed turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to myths. Yahuwah didn't institute marriage as man and a man, or woman and a woman, or man and woman, right? Not a man and multiple women. This is a whole, look. This is a whole thing in our community where people believe in, under the guise of nation building, mind you. First of all, okay, let me just state some facts. And I'm not going to get into my feelings about this, right? I can see it. I can see it from both points of view. I really can. Now, we always know that there is trouble when you have men with multiple women, right? Now, maybe not all of them. Maybe not all of them are at odds where the man has fighting women amongst themselves. Maybe the man has got his women under control, as some would say. Maybe he got his women under control, right? And they're at his every whim and every beck and call, right? We have to realize that this polygamy was not something that Yahuwah instituted, neither was it something that he desired his people to do. This was, in fact, the thing amongst the other nations, but Yahuwah said that his people are not to practice these things, right? But some of our people, they've gotten caught up into it, and they say this is a way because it's always the way it was done. And King Solomon, y'all like to bring up King Solomon and King David and some of the things, but y'all don't realize what that got them into. Matter of fact, Yahuwah's Torah, it doesn't matter that they did it. They were disobedient to that portion of Torah because Yahuwah specifically said, kings, and wasn't Solomon and David kings? Were they not kings, right? They were both kings. He said, kings, you are not to multiply women unto yourselves. But everybody skips over that part. And David and Solomon got in trouble for that, right? King Solomon had the kingdom split, right? Because of a few foolish things he did, and he lived as a beggar in the streets, right? They don't tell you that part that was taken out. They just do away with that, so you wouldn't see that he paid severely for his foolishness. But when he regained his throne, before he passed it to his son and he lost it again, he put away all them women. He put away all them women and was only him and his queen. They don't share that part with you, right? But we read it. You anything in the title with Solomon, King Solomon, go watch them videos, right? Because we went through it all. Yahuwah's people, Israel, is not to practice polygamy. You'll bring up, what about Abraham and Sarah? It was Sarah's foolishness. Abraham would not have done it if Sarah's foolishness, her impatience, would not have talked her husband into doing something that they shouldn't have been doing, right? And it brought them problems. Same thing, Rachel and Leah. Well, foolishness happened there too, right? And then you got the why. Although he was tricked by Laban, Jacob was originally tricked by Laban, the women's father. But then the women in their foolishness, because they was rivals against one another. Oh, I can't have babies. Look, take my woman servant. Jacob was just like, whoa, more booty. Oh, yes. You know, that's like, wife, I want to please you. If you told me this, I mean, come on, right? Most men are not going to, hey, well, my wife agreed to it. Why not? We're just doing this for nation building. Yes, me and my wife is in agreement for nation building. But you see how much trouble and craziness and family feuds and family splits, all these things that happen because of this. You got to go look and actually read everything. Keep everything in its proper context. But when you get down to it, the bottom line is Yahuwah said this is not for his people to practice, right? He said kings. And even if you're not a king of a nation, you should be the king of your home. And if everything flows down from the head, if Yahuwah chastises the king and he always gets on the king, he said, because what you do, your entire nation is going to do. You're worshiping other gods, you can cause the entire nation to go astray. So Yahuwah addresses the king, and thereby when he addresses the king, he addresses the entire nation, because the king sitting at the top as the head should be doing what's right, as a perfect example of what all the people in his kingdom should be doing. And that's why he addressed it. He said, king, you should not multiply women unto yourself, right? Okay. Yahuwah didn't institute marriage as man and a man, woman and woman, or man, woman and woman. The two were made one flesh. Matthew chapter 19, verse 4 through 6. And you can also find that in Genesis as well. But there is a whole other host of things that will prove this as well. Because if a man is being intimate, there's a lot of stuff. If a man is being intimate with more than one woman simultaneously, it doesn't matter that he took them at both as his wife. women have pH balances that will be thrown off when you mix her pH balance with another woman's pH balance. It don't matter that you went and took a shower or whatever, you're still passing that along to her, and it throws her body's pH balance all out of whack. And there are some women who've actually done videos, like wives, and they weren't at odds at one another. They said that after some years of constantly experiencing different women issues, and that's a physical thing that can be tested. Polygamy can be tested, and not say that you should go test it, but I'm just saying, if you look at it and medical records, and y'all, all three of y'all could be clean. The man could be clean, and both of the women could be really clean. But once you begin having sex with them, and you going back and forth, that's why Yahuwah tells a husband, he said, when you depart from this one, and you take a new wife, you are not to go back to this one, right? Because all these things, although that's not spelled out, we can clearly tell that if anybody's ever been involved in any type of love triangle, they will know that this is true, right? If you really pay attention to your body, especially the women. The men may not so much feel the effects of it, but the women absolutely will. That's how, and if you're really in tune with your body, that's how you can tell somebody's been unfaithful, right? And especially if you know it ain't been you, because it throws the woman's pH balance off. But anyway, there was a couple wives that were actually married to the same man for years. They said they had to, because they were both experiencing women issues and different things like yeast infections they couldn't seem to get rid of. And yeast infections don't necessarily affect men, but they can surely pass it back and forth, right? They'll never know, right? So he just passing the bacteria back and forth to both of his wives. They had the trouble of their life, right? And so when they figured this out, after some years, they just come to the conclusion the women were tired of it. They were tired of constantly have to cleanse their bodies. Although their little love triangle marriage was just them three, they were getting like regular checkups and all that stuff. You cannot fool nature. You cannot get over on like principles and things that have been set in order in life. All of this can be proven. And so what they decided to do, they actually, and they had children, right? But they decided that they were going to split this, right? One of the women decided, or she was going to, they all loved each other, whatever, but one of them decided that, hey, for my own health and well-being, I'm just, if you want to stay, okay, they made the arrangements for the children. But one of the women, she said, I can't do this anymore. And it was because of that. She was tired of dealing with the health issues, and they weren't major. It's just like bacteria vaginosis and yeast infection. But still, that's bad enough, right? That's horrible, right? And any woman who had any kind of pH balance being thrown off, that's horrible. Nobody wants to live with that. Don't nobody want to live with that. Ain't nobody got time for that foolishness. But anyway, they decided to dissolve that marriage to where she was no longer part of it. And they actually came and did a video. They did like update video, whatever. I'm not sure if you can find it, but I saw this like last year. And it was mind you, it was two sisters, two black women, right? But they said, yeah, that was they would recommend that anybody that's in it and they're having those issues, they really need to look into that. And they said, if truth be told, if people would be honest, they're having those same issues, right? And I believe that. I absolutely believe that, right? So even nature will teach you that that something is wrong with that, right? I wonder how many people actually understand what the title king infers in scriptures. I don't know. I think everybody just use the, they just, king of, my domain or whatever. But I look at it in a couple different ways. You could actually be a king of a kingdom, and you could be a king, just be the king of your home, your business, or where you could carry the title or whatever. I guess it depends on what context you're using it in will determine how you understand it. It's still the same principle. You're still the ruling authority or whatever, but But yeah, so back on this right here. So he said, the two were made one flesh. And he answering said to them, did you not read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh, so that they are no longer two, but one flesh. And also, therefore what Yahuwah has joined together, let not man separate. But also something that happens, y'all, and I'm not sure how much y'all have actually studied this, but there, I say we was gonna talk about this a little bit when we get to Solomon, the Songs of Solomon. But also, there's something that happens. It's not just a physical union. Like if you look at it on a more, I guess you want to say a more spiritual level, or more looking at like an infrared level type, when someone is actually joined to somebody else, there's actually energy being passed back and forth, right? And if you take time to study that, I even looked into you can let me tell you, without getting too much into it, I looked into what is it, Karma Sutra, right? And it's like different sex positions and everything, but not necessarily that. It's another one. It's called Tantric Sex, right? So what happens is it's the same thing, but it's two people together, husband and wife. Well, I guess everybody kind of uses it. They know about it, but they teach you something that's happening, that's going on, like the energies that's being passed back and forth, right? Say a husband and a wife is being intimate and they're going back and forth, they're thrusting one another, whatever, right? In the midst of it, right? So when they go back and forth, they teach you how to align your breathing, right, with one another while you're being intimate. When he breathes out, the wife breathes in, right? When she breathes out, he breathes in. And what happens is you're passing this energy back and forth, not just your bodies, but also your breath as well. And you become in sync with one another, right? But what happens is, if you do this long enough, the two energies will actually merge. And it will be, and if you could look at, like I say, infrared, if you could actually x-ray and look at the bodies while they're being intimate and actually see the energy spiraling through the body, you would see, say the woman's, just for the sake of example, say the woman's energy is pink and the man's energy is blue, right? So you will see them going back and forth while in the act of intimacy, right? And here's one of the mysteries of marriage, right? And some of the things that really just kind of on a deeper level, not so deep, but really, and this is also one of the reasons why you should not have multiple partners, right? Because what happens here is only something that can happen between a husband and wife, or a committed couple, right? That you're not having illicit or extramarital relationships or sleeping with multiple people, because there has to actually be like a true love connection between the two. Because what happens as you practice it, when you learn how to breathe and sync your breathing, those two separate energies literally will merge and it will become one energy. And it's almost like this figure eight spiral. And you got the two bodies, and instead of the two separate colors now, the pink and the blue, let's say, I don't know what pink and blue make. I don't know. I forget what they make. But anyway, let's just say the pink and blue, when they merge and they become one energy, it becomes a purple, one single energy flowing through the bodies. Now something happens, right? Now I can tell y'all what I read, but I'm telling you what I experienced. But I'm like, oh shoot, it is something to this, right? Because first time I heard about it, first time I heard about it was in my teenage years. I came across a book my mom and my daddy had. You know, I would go read it, like while they was not at home. So I remember some of the stuff where I used to sneak off and read this book. Of course, they had all different positions and stuff, but it had different things in there, but that I remember, right? So as I got older, I started looking into it more. And when I got married, I ain't never really practiced it like before I was married. But as I got married, I started thinking about it again. I was like, oh, I remember that. You know, so I went in looking into it, looking at how to really connect, make it more intimate, and sync the breathing and stuff, right? Not just to make it a more fulfilling experience, but really to experience what actually happens. And let me tell y'all something that happens. When the energies connect, I'm not telling you something, I read this, but we've tried it, but I'm telling you something happens. But it doesn't necessarily happen when you're intimate with a bunch of people. Now, because I haven't been intimate with a bunch of people, I can't necessarily tell you that it doesn't work, but I know. Let me see how I can merge all this together, because when I understood this, I began to understand why there's so many sexual rituals that happen. There is something that they are trying to achieve with these sexual rituals that can only happen between a committed couple who is doing this the right way. What will happen when you sync you sync your breath and your energies sync together in an actual act? Something happens. It's almost like, and I ain't gonna say it's almost like, but it is like you are opening a door to the spiritual realm, right? So that's the beauty of a husband and a wife coming together versus a single person and like prayer and doing things. There is so much more power that's gained with a married couple and a couple that's like committed to Yah, and you're walking pure and holy, that because sex is an actual ritual. No matter what part of life you're in or what culture, the act of sex is a ritual, not just to bring something into the seen world, like you're pulling a soul out of the unseen world and causing it to manifest in the seen world. But that's not the only thing that happens. When you get to that state and your eyes are open, it's like information comes to you. Like, I'm just explaining this the best way I know how. Like, but okay, say it's like the power of agreement, right? It's the power of agreement. And when you and your spouse comes together and you use it, say you get into agreement about something, and then let's say you can seal it with sex or whatever, right? But as you practice this, you literally pull what you've been waiting for out of the unseen realm and cause it to manifest in the physical realm, if that makes any sense to you, right? But that literally happens. And not only does that happen, but you are actually you ever hear people say, oh, I can see your aura, right? And some people just be talking crap, right? Like, oh, I see your aura. Like, no, what do you, tell me what you see. And I'm telling you, when this happens, your eyes become open, and it's like a realm of the spirit is open, and you can like see, well, at least I could see. It seemed like I was looking with my physical eyes, and it was like you can see the I don't know, energy, aura around things, and I saw it like around my husband, and the energies. I don't know. First, I was blinking my eyes. I'm like, what in the world is going on? My husband's like, girl, what's wrong with you? Like, right in the middle of what we were doing. But when that happens, literally something happens supernaturally. Trina said, wait, what is it? What is it called, so I can read about it? I'm going to share it with you, Trina. I'm going to send it to you. But you got to be careful. You got to be careful, too, because you can't go looking for that stuff, because you got people with all kinds of information, and there is no end of it, especially if you're YouTubing it, right? Some people that use some stuff, but there is actually, you gotta qualify the people you get the information from. That's what I'm gonna tell you, because there's some people that's gonna give you some crazy stuff. But what I've noticed is I got a couple resources that I know that this is pretty good. But based on everything that I've learned and some of the things I've experienced and what I understand about the unseen realm, I was like, wait a minute. So this was happening. So there really is something to a man and a woman coming together. When it says the two shall become one flesh, it's more than talking about when the bodies connect, his penis inside the vagina. That's the plug, that's the beginning of it. But there is literally something that happens, and it literally opens up a realm of a realm of information, a realm of the spirit. It opens up a realm of information that not a lot of people get to, right? And I'm gonna be nice when I say it's a lot of married couples out there that's just having sex to have sex, and like just having sex just to reproduce, when so much more can be accomplished. And if we'll probably talk about this a little bit more, like I said, when we get to Songs of Solomon, because it's actually kind of, an intimate book, and I can share a little bit more. But when I tell you, when I understood this, now I understand about all the sexual rituals that happen all over the place, and even in the church. They're not just having, I mean, yeah, they doing these because they pervert it, but there is a reason why. They are trying to accomplish and get to that place of heaven that only is the only access is given to those who enter the door appropriately. That's the best way I can say that. That's the best way I can say that at this point. And let me think about it, because I didn't think I was going to talk about this today. But there is a reason why they're doing this, and they're using all manner of defiled ways to get that, or literally pull information from the spiritual realm when it's literally given to husbands and wives who walk holy, right? Like your bedroom is literally a temple, a sanctuary, and when you're intimate, your bed is literally a place of a ritual. And I started thinking about this, and even how Yahuwah talks about when a husband and wife, when they're intimate, how they need to wash their bodies and change the sheets. All this stuff began to make sense. I'm like, holy crap, right? So when you understand this, you can practice this safely with your spouse, right? And there are some other things that y'all wish I could share so much of this with y'all. But there is how can I say this without, it's just some things that if it's not passed down, if you're not taught about things the appropriate way, it's like, what are we here for? It's like everybody's constantly searching for their, like, what is the meaning of life? And we just live, we get up, we work, we work to just clothe and feed ourselves and just live till we get old age, and then we die, right? And we train our children to do the same thing. Life is so much more than this. Life is so much more than this. It is literally, like, this earth is literally, like, everywhere we're born into, every facet of life, every culture, it is literally a training ground for what we are to become. Like, seriously, I'm like, wait a minute, what? And you now begin to think about what Yahuwah said in the book of the prophets. He said, y'all can't even fathom the things that I have prepared for you, right? But as you begin to grow, you use the Torah and you keep yourself. Torah teaches you how to be responsible. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to be like a well-oiled machine. Not that you're keeping to religion. I realize it has nothing to do with religion, but it has everything to do with training you how literally to live and be in, I guess, live and be in unity. And I'm trying to explain this the best way. It teaches you how to be perfectly balanced in life. So as you grow, you get stronger and you learn more things. And, as you grow, more things are accessible to you. And it's like, as you begin to keep those things, and as you get older, you begin to understand some things, like, oh, and then you graduate to the level of actually being married. There are certain things that you just don't get, that you don't get to practice. Like, you don't get the keys to this car till you get married, right? But some people get the keys and they married. Now we just driving this thing recklessly, fast, slow, but we just getting to the destination, getting to the moment, right? But it's so much more than that moment, which is the orgasm. It's so much more than that. But people think it's really just for the orgasm and the childbearing. When it's a part of the big thing, but it's so much more. Guys, but we're at 1 hour and 8 minutes, and I'm gonna have to cut it off right there, right? So we ended right here at the end of the polygamy part, right? And he said, therefore, what Yahuwah has joined together, let not man separate, right? 1 John 2:16 springs to mind among other scriptures, especially parables dealing with our selfishness. Yahuwah is separating the sheep from the goats, Putting others' needs above our own is the example we all need to follow. Right? Okay. So we'll pause right here. But y'all, when I tell y'all, when the mystery of, I think I found out the mystery of, I ain't the only one. I am not the first one either, because let me tell you something. Those that have found it out, I'm like, how come y'all ain't shared this with nobody? Right? I think there is it should really, and from what I understand, it's like it is so many things that have not been passed down that I don't even think, well, the generations alive today, we're just now coming back to the understanding and realizing, like, wait a minute, we can do this, like, this works. Like, I'm just like, because at first when I was like, oh, this sounds interesting, I was like, maybe that's just totally, I don't know, that sounds too good to be true. Not that it sounded too good to be true, but it's something I'm in the habit of testing everything, right? I'm like, okay, well, I got the vehicle, I can legally test this. Okay, hubby, look at this. This. Hey, let's try this. He always game. All right, so okay, work on our breathing. Let me tell y'all something. What happened? I don't want to turn this into a whole sex education class, but I'm telling you, y'all guys, it works. And as you y'all just practice. Let me tell you this. If you're married, just practice when you be intimate with your spouse. Shalom, joy. When you practice, when you're intimate with your spouse, practice syncing your breathing, right? When you breathe in, he breathes out. When you breathe out, he breathes in. And as you become one, you sync your energies and stuff, which will begin to happen when you sync your breathing, you will actually begin to feel. You will feel, I don't know how to say it. Maybe some people say you feel the energies rising or something, but I'll tell you how I feel. I feel like heat rising in my body. It literally feels like heat is rising in my body, and it starts at my feet and it works all the way up. It's literally like a cup being filled up. It's weird, because I used to wonder for years, like, what in the world is going on here? Maybe just getting hot in the feet when we're intimate or whatever. But no, something was happening that I never really understood, right? And it starts at the feet and it builds all the way up. I'm like, okay, we need to keep practicing this. We need to get the energy all the way. We need to get the heat all the way up here on both our bodies, like two bodies. Hold on. We need to sync together. This is my body, this is your body. We need to get the energy. They start here. Something is happening. I'm telling you, I don't know if y'all ever experienced or ever even paid attention, but something is literally happening. And when it builds up and when it gets to the top, I'm almost 100% certain at that point, when it's completely, I'll just say completely filled up, right? All the way to the top. When your breath is completely synced, that's when your energy is no longer two separate ones, but it literally merges. Like I said, I can't explain it, but it happens, right? It happens, and they intertwine in the two bodies. I don't know, maybe like a figure eight. I don't know, like they intertwining now between the both of you. It's like, although your two physical bodies are still there, but if we were to look at you spiritually, you would literally look like one entity, right? It literally looks like you merge, right? I'm telling you, that's the best way I can explain this, based on not just what I read, but what we've experienced and practiced. Something happens, and when it merges like this, something happens with your spiritual insight. It opens. That's the best way I can explain this, y'all. That's the best way I can explain this. And it's like the spiritual realm is open to you. And some people, this one girl, she said she liked to drop off her pudding list. Her pudding list, like you got this list of things. She called it her pudding list, or I guess your list of good things, or your list of stuff that you want. She called it her pudding list. But she when you get to that point, when it's like the spiritual realm is open to you, it's like that's the point where you drop prayers off at, and boom, that's where it happens. I'm gonna give y'all some book titles. I'm gonna give you sounds like, you know what, Joy? I read some stuff on Kundalini as well, but I believe from what I know and understand now, the Kundalini rising is I guess I can say it this way. It's I'm not gonna say a pervert. Let me say it this way. Let me see if I can explain it. I would say it's a perversion of what is really happening, right? And if people go look up the Kundalini rising, they're trying to access this the wrong way, and you're completely missing stuff. Remember the other day when I said you would never be able to fool the spiritual realm. So people you gotta raise up the Kundalini, which is the snake at the serpent of the serpent at the base of the spine and stuff. You get that, you rise it up and you open up the third eye and the crown chakra and all that stuff. I get all of that. But what happens is with a married couple, I wouldn't necessarily call it the Kundalini rising, although some people can say it that way, but something totally different happens when there is a married couple. And they not going, we trying to raise Kundalini. No, what happens? Something just happens and the spiritual realm opens to you, right? Some people label it that. I don't know. I label it as the two becoming one, right? And something just happens there, right? So, but also, when that happens as well, because remember how I told you, and this is from experience. I'm telling you, experience. Also, when that happens, there's also if there's issues going on with your bodies, that's where your bodies are healed at, between the husband and wife. Remember I told you, look, without being too personal, and I thought my husband was just joking. He didn't necessarily understand what was happening, but when he would get sick, like when we first got married, he's like, babe, I just need some. I'm like, you need some of what? He was like, it's gonna help knock it out. I'm like, boy, so, but I didn't really argue with him, but I began to notice that, like, if he would, but it would literally happen. So even earlier this year, right, out there working on the projects, he had come down with something. He traveled a couple times, right, to like Texas and Illinois and everything, but he came down, and I want to say he caught COVID, right? Mind you, we got a whole house full of people. And I think I mentioned it before, and he was down for like a week. Like, he was experiencing all the symptoms, right? I mean, breaking out in cold sweats, literally drenching our sheets. Now, I wasn't afraid. Now, I was like, look, we're quarantining you. I make sure all the kids stay away. But I made sure the house was full of, I was juicing like crazy. Everybody eating fruits and vegetables, all that stuff, right? So I'm making sure we're pushing water, doing smoothies, putting all my, making sure, and I was giving it to him. But also, I wasn't touched. And I didn't quarantine myself and my husband. I still slept in the same bed, right? But because there are some things that I understand, I'm like, bump what the doctors is not bump what the doctors is talking about, right? And I'm not saying that, because you got to do your own study. You got to take responsibility for your own actions, right? Don't go try to do some of this stuff and you don't live the life I live and you mess around, catch COVID and die. But based on what I understand, what I practice, and how I live my life, I understood what I could do. So on top of the juicing and infusing my husband with the vitamin C and the smoothies and all this stuff, and all that, he really couldn't eat anything either. He felt like his throat was closing up, like his chest was hurting. He had this cough, cold sweats, like he would literally would have to change the sheets twice in a night, like, and put towels down, and he would still soak it to where my side of the bed got soaked. So we both waking up. I'm like, no, and I thought about this. I'm like, you know what? And he was like, I don't know, babe. He was like, but yeah, let's go for it. I don't know if I got the strength, but I'm gonna make it work. So within a week, my husband was back at 100%. So there's something else that happens as well. It literally will heal your body. When the energies, when you merge, the husband and the wife become one. Like I said, you can't do this with everybody. It has to be let's say a pure and holy relationship. You can't be living a polygamous lifestyle and expect this to work. I'm sharing stuff with you that I know because we practice. And I'm not just telling you something I'm reading from a book and just regurgitating it to you, because before I do that, I ain't gonna tell you nothing that I ain't practiced. We practice this first. I'm telling you. Now, some stuff, some people are like, oh, witchcraft. No, I'm telling you, there's something to this, and it works, right? And I'm just like, there is something to this. So some people, that when you try to explain, especially people being exposed to a lot of new age stuff, they start thinking kundalini and all that, but that's not necessarily what it is, although that's what they understand in the words they're using. But I'm telling you, something happens where you don't have to go conjure it up. It just happens for a husband and a wife, right? But like I said, the spiritual realm is open to you, right? And any prayers that you have, anything that you need to come in agreement on, and this thing that I was telling you about, the example the other day, we also, although I didn't tell y'all that when I was telling y'all that, but we also did that when we found out a couple days of going over this, and we, came into agreement. The Wednesday, we sealed it, right? Went to sleep, had the stream, boom. Next day, 4:30, the phone rings. What we have been waiting on, boom. We're approving this. What you want, right? And we just like, yo, this works, right? So that's the best time to pray. You drop them prayers off in the spiritual realm when they merge, and you right there in the spiritual. Is literally like you call it, you piercing the veil. Hey, we got a request. Right? So, but that only happens. It has to be a pure and a holy relationship, right? You don't have to be perfect, but you can't be like consciously, purposely living in sin, like for it to work. That's what I know. That's what we practice, and it works. Lisa said I need to go to Georgia. Look, and it does, Tony. It actually does, and that's what I was saying. Sex definitely does boost the immune system, especially with a husband or wife. With that right there. So with that whole week where he was experiencing that, and he didn't go to the hospital get tested or anything, because they, no doubt about it, he would have popped positive or whatever. They said, oh yeah, he got COVID. I could already see all the symptoms and everything they had said, and like body aches and everything, right? But during that course of that week where he was down, like when I say he was down, if anybody know my husband, he's energetic. He's always moving, right? He's just always like can't even move out the bed or anything. Like, oh my God, babe, oh, like can barely breathe, all that stuff, right? So I was doing what I knew to do, and then I did what I knew to do. After a week, he back up and running. He like, yo, girl, you done learned some stuff. I'm like, babe, yes, we did, right? So guys, that's it. Look, I'm telling y'all, so there are some things that has been lost through the course of time and are scattering all over the place, but there are some things that we can do literally to grow in leaps and bounds, especially with your marriages, right? And guys, I don't know. I'm just telling you, it works. Call it what you want. I'm telling you, it works. And Yahuwah hears our prayers. So I'm just saying, hey. So that's it. Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. A lot of men wouldn't go for that, Yakova, right? a lot of men wouldn't go for that. Yeah. So okay, y'all. So that was our reading for today, and of course, sharing a little bit of insight with you, just in case y'all that's married. I'll drop a couple of titles for you. I'll put it in the I'll pin it in the description. I'll put it in the description box, and I'll pin it in the comment section for today. So maybe I'll name, so you'll know what video to come back to later. Maybe I'll put in a title, Tantric Sex or something like that. But when I put sex in the title, I always get a bunch of weirdos leaving sex links and stuff like that. So, but if you see them, just delete them. If you see them before I do, right? And don't click on those links, y'all. Please don't click on it. Okay. Yeah, Joy, you actually okay with polygamy? Hey, if you okay with it, and okay. I ain't arguing with nobody that do it, but I'm just saying, what we trying to accomplish, we can't have no party coming in on this, right? Because it ain't gonna work. Because while doing that,
Either you gonna merge with one or you gonna merge with the other, right? And the one seeing y'all merge and it happen is like, wait a minute, hold on, that can't be a threesome with this happen, right? It's only like a two energies type thing merging, right? And it's not going to happen when you have. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your life or with your marriage or whatever. I ain't arguing with nobody that do it, but I'm just saying there's only a certain level in life you can make it to if you're living a polygamous lifestyle, right? Some people make it work. If that's okay, then okay, that's your life, right? Whatever, but we're not doing that over here, right? Because what we want to do, where we want to go, like we nation building. I can nation build, right? I know I can nation build. Like we got half a basketball team already. Like I'm just saying, we got enough. And then what did they push out? 6'2", right? So we just gonna multiply the numbers as we go through the generations. I'm just saying, right? I know, Joy. I'm just saying. Some people like it. Okay, I'm just saying. Me, right? Tony said I can barely handle one. Yeah, most men can't. Some men though that I've noticed. Some men, well, at least the ones that I've seen that's doing videos and talking about it, I'm listening to them. I'm like, yeah, you seem like you got more of a lust problem than anything. You can't get your physical self under control, right? And some of them, they got money, they take care. Okay, then more power to you. If that's what y'all like, y'all done got that agreement going on. Hey, who am I to come in and tell you how to run your household? Okay, that worked for y'all. But I'm telling y'all where we going, right? Okay, and this we not inviting anybody to this part. I'm sorry, right? Because I'll fight. I will fight you. Look, don't you get close enough to me. Y'all pray my strength in the Lord. Okay, y'all, let me stop playing. All right, y'all. It's Tuesday. Choke and Lisa, yo. Don't try me. Look, I think I mentioned this before. We actually, boy, may Yahuwah make me more perfect like him as the days go on, right? Because somebody actually came to us with that. Like my husband told me about it. He said, oh yeah, I'll be a sister wife with Pam. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I went off. I went off. And this was a couple years ago. Like, I went off. I was like, I'll smack that bee right in her. Like, I went off. I had to repent. But I was serious, though. Like, what? First of all, like, seriously. People have, like, it was a couple different people. I'm like, what do they think this is? Just because you see me with my hair wrapped, what? I will snatch this off so fast and I will beat your tail. Don't come here with that foolishness. Like, seriously, people try it. They really do. Like, because they think, oh, she wear hair wraps. They might be looking for somebody else to come in. So what? We got a lot of kids. I can outsource. I can hire a nanny. And we ain't hire no young nanny either. We're going to hire Miss Bertha, who 82 years old. No, seriously. Y'all, I need to get off of here. I'm being foolish now. Look, no, you have to let the man approach. Look, let me tell you something. No, y'all, let's end this. Yeah, no, we ain't doing that. Me and my husband, we actually talked about it. I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I said, I don't need no help. I said, and the help I do need, we can pay for help, right? I don't need nobody else coming here, living in our house. Like, seriously, these conversations come up, talk about them, right? Literally, hash them out. Talk through them, right? So you don't have to run into these issues, right? Like, seriously, I don't think anything wrong with talking about it, but here's where we stand. Here's where I stand, right? And if you think our relationship should be more, then maybe this is not the right place you should be, right? Then maybe you should find somebody who's willing to take on living in a lifestyle with multiple women and one man. Absolutely not. Like, so I brought it up. I'm like, okay, let's say I agreed to that, right? Let's say I agreed to that. What if down the line, or maybe during this time where we're seeking out somebody else to join the mix, What if I want to add somebody to the mix? Like, wait a minute. I was like, see, that's exactly how I feel when you just brought that garbage to me, right? Absolutely not. You wouldn't go for it. I ain't going for it. Absolutely not, right? So that's how you know when you begin to ask those questions, you can get to the root of, is this really like a need for nation building or help or whatever this garbage excuse thing you bringing up, or is it that you want multiple flavors of booty every night? Is that what we really want here? And there's just a few questions that can be asked to find out what's really going on, right? You know, because ain't really no man. They'll say, yeah, you can bring another man in here. And I have seen it, right? I have seen it. There, unless they were putting on a show, this was a show or something, but it was a woman and she had 2 husbands. I'm looking at these men, and they look like, I'm like, first of all, they look like I could beat their tail. Ain't nowhere in the world these dudes letting this woman, like, what it was a freak show, right? It was a freak show. And it was like she had more. They were bigger. You could tell that they were built bigger. She was like kind of petite or whatever. But here's the thing. Sis had money, right? These brothers was looking for a place to stay. That's why they agreed to this. I'm like, yeah, no, see, all this is garbage. All this is crazy, right? So just a little bit of observation, let you know what's really going on behind the scenes. 3, 4, 5 women. I ain't thinking about nothing but yeah. Absolutely not, right? So, and there's a lot of things. I mean, you may be able to do some things on the physical side of it, but spiritually, you're gonna be stunted in ways you would never even know or never even begin to experience, because you're just not like some people that do this, they'll never know what they would have missed had they just had that one union and began to experience these things. And some people, they've been married for years and never even got to that, because they just think, boom, the orgasm or the nut is it and we done. Like, do you realize it's more than that? Like, have you even tried to, you know how some people like go for hours or whatever, they're actually, when you're able to push off the orgasm and not just, I mean, there are times where we don't need like 5 minutes or whatever, but there are times when you actually go to do this, it's literally a sexual ritual between a husband and wife, and you go into it knowing this is what we're about to do, and it's gonna be at least 30 minutes. You can make it as long as you want, however long it takes you guys to merge, get your breathing down. The more you practice it, the better you'll become at it, and you'll be able to access that realm a lot faster, right? And it's just like, we know we got this prayer, this request, and we know what we need to do. That is a whole nother level of prayer that married couples can partake in to kind of break down some things and affect things in a physical realm, right? In the privacy, the sanctuary of their own home, in their own bedroom, their own sanctuary, right? That's probably like the highest form of prayer that will affect almost immediate change, right? But if you don't know that and you're not taught that, like, you go through all your life just wasting all these sexual experiences and ain't got nothing accomplished. Just saying. I'm teaching my children about this, not, I'm saying as they get married, like, so y'all get what I'm saying. Okay. All right, y'all need to end this. I'm just rambling right now. All right, y'all. It's Tuesday, August the 17th, 2021, day 235 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets on a 3-year consecutive day count, day 904. We read Ezekiel 32, 33, and 34. And we read Fossilized Customs, page 328, all the way to page 333. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the blessing. Froze. What? Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verse 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow, man or woman can take it. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us presenting gifts and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I love y'all. And I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Be looking in a little while for the couple little links that I get to y'all. All right. I see y'all later.